Alright, we got the encoder going and the bits are flowing. The shop is warming and the cat is relaxing. Just to prove that latest point. I think if I can remember which camera it's on. Yeah, here we go. I usually don't monitor the audio for the entire stream, but I happen to have the headphones on right now so I can actually listen to exactly what you're hearing. And yeah, the heater sure is loud, but the cat is peaceful. Yeah, I just can't get over how cute and peaceful he is. I wonder if I can get him to be slightly more in focus. Of course, the first thing that requires is me picking up the monitor so I can get the whole cable for that close enough to the camera so I can see the image, focus it. Of course he's going to move now. That's a slight improvement. Kind of hard to tell in such low light with such a small screen. Oh well. Once I actually have the LiDAR doing the focusing, I'm hoping it's a little better at it, but the low light's also not especially helping. Is he gonna stay out of the camera's view? I think that's fuzzy gimbal territory if I go down there. Oh, so far the gimbal's quiet. He is exploring the latest cardboard boxes the shop has to offer. I just got those additional grip doodads in the mail. Those are like lighting mount accessories that you might have seen. I find them super useful here at the shop, like for actual lighting, but also for, well, I've got one holding my soldering fume extractor and one holding the microscope. Two that are actually holding lights. And I had been using one of these for the Tuco Flyer as I developed it too. Yeah, at B&H. Exactly. John Anderson in YouTube chat says Tuco looks focused. Yeah, I think that was when he was on the couch probably, and yeah, it looks. I think he was just waking up and noticing me getting the stream set up, so he wanted to come over here and see what it was up. Anyway, this should be pretty chill. I'm still working on this silly project. I feel like it's so close to working, but it's still not quite working, so I'm trying to see if I can tune it. And for a little bit of backstory, this is basically trying to closed loop control a little wiggling, vibrating toothbrush robot. And this is like, what, the 4th version of this that I've built, like this week. And it's still pretty unreliable. It's hard to get the thing balanced so that I can continuously, so that I can reliably move in 3 different directions, so that I can actually iterate around in a shape. So let me show you the last couple of things really briefly, just for backstory. Gotta have a brief backstory for each of these for folks that haven't watched like every single stream, right? Because you know it takes so long to catch up that I assume that nobody catches up unless they're like really into it or they're actually the ones editing the video like me. Let's get this split screen. Oh, I think we can give Tuco more screen than that. Although this will get a little less big when I wake up the camera, maybe slightly. Let's do this screen, but with the camera overlay. Oh, you can see that monitor that I clipped over there so I could see the computer vision output. Tuco is over here, and I think I might have put that cart in the way. Did I? Wow, that is really meta. That's cool. You can actually see the gimbal positioning chart on that screen, and then you can see me driving around the computer vision rectangle. Where is Tuco? He is under the desk, so neither of us can really see him, but he's right down here. I can pet him. I was gonna put the DSLR up, I guess, and maybe I can get him on here. Hey, Tukester. Whoa, you're such a fuzz bucket. And you're so out of focus. Oh my gosh, he has a great bolt. We're trying to be servo AF. Oh yeah, we have a good queue of bolt port kits right there too. I've been saving those for a lull in the regular streaming activity. But yeah, and I think there's a new one about to arrive that looks really fun too. What a great guy. Let's see if I can park this camera somewhere. Oh, dude. This autofocus is not handling the situation especially gracefully. I'm like, I know there's a lot of interesting stuff here, but dude, autofocus, can't you recognize that the cat is the thing I want? I could actually put it into a different mode, but right now I think manual focus is just easier. If Tuco was triggering the face detect though, then it would have automatically just focused on him. So clearly cameras need cat face detection. Some of them probably actually do have that. Oh, you're like, don't leave me. Alright, I'll use my other hand to pick up the coffee. Oh gosh, I'm gonna spill the coffee on these drawings. Oh my gosh, this cat is really purring. Not especially audibly, but I was just like feeling that pretty strongly on his neck as he was pushing against me. Oh yeah. Gosh, I love this boy. Oh, it looks like I'm a bit behind on the YouTube chat, sorry. As far as back as I can see, something about spots and stripes not going together, sorry. Yeah, no, Tuco and I clash sometimes. Oh yeah, Mike's Audio Repair is asking if I've named the brush bots so far. Well, I had to pick a name recently just to check the code in as something in GitHub, and I called it the Wigglebot, but I can totally think of a better name. Like, that seems pretty temporary. Oh, Tuco just put a bolt, like, right under my sock. Oh, did you hear him chirp? I hope you're getting that, because that is adorbs. Oh, he really wants to follow this. Let me see if I can get it somewhere the other camera can see it. I'm gonna have to be ready to follow it. Oh, maybe not. I don't know. Yeah. Driving it. There we go. Now it's tracking again. Maybe I'll just move that cart to see if it'll track him around that corner if the cart's not there. Oh, Tuke, you brought me the bolt. Yeah, I'll throw this again too. Yeah, the tracking needs work on high-speed objects. Also, I might seriously consider putting some kind of like beeper into the remote control because I keep forgetting where I leave it while I'm operating the robot. It's a little faster at tracking him if he's like a little further away and the lighting is a little better, but right now the solution I'm interested in most is to have something where there's sort of a third layer of tracking. So right now there's kind of two layers. The first is the computer vision, the neural network object detector. The second is the correlation tracker that looks for matching rectangles effectively. But in these cases where it loses Tuco, I think he's also, from the camera's perspective, changing shape pretty rapidly. So I think the correlation tracker has a hard time with that. So I think if there's a third layer there where if the correlation tracker has a low confidence, it can just go back to doing dense optical flow and looking at motion vectors, then I think that might be the, oh, geez, I'm sorry, Tuco. I get disoriented when I'll, yeah, I hear you. Here it is. Yeah, there's still a lot of room for tuning here. Oh, a dead reckoning tracker. Yeah, that might be good too. Yeah, that would be great actually to keep velocity estimates and maybe even acceleration and just propagate that during frames where the correlation tracker has a bad estimate. That would certainly help. And that's something we haven't even started to tackle yet. Where did you put this one, Tuco? If we're gonna play Bolt, I should probably put on the wireless mic. Tuke. I'm not actually paying attention to notice where he dropped the bolt now. Hey boy, I'm just gonna grab one from the pile over here maybe. Oh, he likes this thing. Oh, a little out of range there. Oh, the gimbal's unhappy with that location. Let me see if I can get Tuco a little over here. Oh no, Tuke's really into this feather. Hey, Tuke, let's play over here. didn't get it? See, now I'm worried that he's going to treat my pop screen as a bird. Jeez. It's going to be dangerous if I have to use the remote when 2 goes in attack mode. If I leave it that close to him, jeez. Oh man. That's pretty great. I could do that for a while. It's pretty great. Yeah, the cat is currently faster than the tracking. The camera can move fast enough to keep up with the cat, but right now the algorithms are not tuned such that they do. John Anderson in YouTube chat says that this is too complicated and I should just follow the heat source. I don't have access to high-speed thermal cameras. That seems like maybe the limiting factor in that approach. And like maybe you don't need a high frame rate, but like then you still have this problem where like you need some kind of dead reckoning, and then if you're using a low frame rate thermal sensor for everything, then now you have these really bad velocity estimates because of that. And I know you don't need a full camera for that approach. You could just use multiple like IR thermometer kind of sensors, but those still are not especially fast unless you get into the expensive specialty stuff made with like vacuum tubes. Tuco's hanging out over here now. Cool. Anyway, this stream will be a bit random. I didn't have like a giant project to get into right now, but I wanted to try to do some more tuning on this brush bot. It is so close to working, but it is not quite there. And that might necessitate writing a little bit of code so that we can actuate these motors individually, which I don't have right now. And then this weird thing happened recently. I was doing some errands yesterday in San Francisco. I don't live in San Francisco, but I live close to it. It's kind of like Brooklyn and Manhattan. Where is Tuco? And anyway, I was walking down the street and there was a projector on the sidewalk, just like on the curb that someone had thrown out. and it was like obviously broken, but I don't know how broken it is, and so I obviously grabbed it, and so I figured we could take a look at it on stream and see what's in there, and if there are some usable parts. Because I'd be surprised if the DLP chip itself is damaged, and so like my bet is that the light source is probably toast. Like the light bulb might have been the reason they threw out the projector in the first place. It might have been broken, and it looks like the projector was like badly dropped or thrown or something. So it's got some mechanical damage, and the focusing mechanism is probably a little bit broken, and the light bulb is potentially very broken, but I haven't looked at it yet. So, but it also came with some nice cables. There's like a weird proprietary connector to VGA cable and a pretty nice looking IEC power cable. So like, yeah, definitely worth grabbing. And yeah, a couple of good suggestions for stuff to do with it. So just now in chat, Len suggests Tuco Flyer plus DLP equals automated cat light spot toy. So yeah, that could be fun if there is some way we can modify the DLP to project just like low-res light spots with a wide field of view. That could be fun. They wouldn't have to be really bright. And then someone on Twitter suggested an SLA printer, which could be fun too, just like, because yeah, I mean, for something like that, you'd be likely replacing the light source on some of the optics too, and the DLP assembly would be nice. Yeah, and then also the thought occurs that like, well, if it is just the light source that's broken, could I replace that with a high brightness LED? And that seems quite plausible. Like that would be worth investigating for sure. So yeah, I think that might be a fun thing to dig into. Yeah, there are a lot of heat sources in here besides cats, as Mike's Radio Repair points out, like people and soldering irons and stuff. If you had like a high-res, high-frame rate thermal camera, then you could certainly look for like a cat-shaped signature on there pretty reliably. But that's just an expensive piece of hardware, and then you would need that plus a visible camera, so it's just putting a lot of stuff on the gimbal, and didn't really have room or money for that for this design. Anyway, so, oh man, this cat is so interesting. Can I put the cat on the screen on the side here? Which view here is the best? Pants cam. I didn't realize I had pants cam. That's cool. You can see my purple trousers. All right. Man, I am a little bit mad at this camera arm these days. It's so convenient. It's super convenient, but the joint with this tensioning arm here is just always getting out of alignment, and I had to do some like ball bearing surgery on it on the last stream. And I think 2 streams ago or 3 streams ago, I think I actually sprained my thumb on it, or not my thumb, my index finger. And I've actually hurt my hand activating that lever multiple times now, and that's kind of frustrating. And so I was looking, and I think there's actually a newer version of it that uses just like a single rotating knob, and I might look into getting one of those and then maybe using this for something else, something that I'm not moving around as frequently. Because they're really useful arms. I'm sure there's probably something else like the microscope that would benefit from an arm like this, but that I'm just like not activating over and over and over again. Because I use this thing so much that like the somewhere I was noticing that like the anodizing was starting to rub off on the exterior just because my hand is on this all the time. So yeah, man, ergonomics are hard. I have to see what I can do to make that less likely to hurt my hand, because I like my hand, I like it not to be injured. Anyway, so yeah, I guess you can see a couple things I wanted to get into here. So this YouTube video you can see here is awesome. This comes from Andre, I believe. I think I had the relevant chat conversation segment handy here. If I switch to the right computer. Oh, this scrolled down. I think I just need to scroll this back up. Oh yeah, here it is. Alexi, sorry. I'm super bad with names, and so I'm always embarrassing myself when I try to remember people's names. And so I apologize about that. But yeah, Alexi Protnikov in chat. they got super inspired by this sub-project of kind of creating a platform that can use vibration to move in 3 directions, and did some research and posted some interesting papers about, like there was one we were looking at that used magnetic fields to actuate a potentially very small robot using different vibrational modes to cause it to move in different directions. And so Alexei came up with this really cool design and actually made this awesome YouTube video that both illustrates the design and has a time-lapse of the construction. So actually I wanted to share that really quickly, because this is pretty awesome. Yeah, right? So it's like the same kind of thing. It sits on a flat surface. There's a pen in the middle. It has 3 separate vibration motors. And I think maybe one of the inspirations here was that Alexei was noticing that the little kind of arms that I've got on my robot have really weird vibrational modes, and that using maybe flat pieces of spring metal would have a better ability to harness the vibration modes in one direction. And so this is a really cool design that uses the overall shape of the robot to provide some springs to both direct and isolate the vibration between the corners, and then to also just like act as the basic frame of the robot. And it's all just made out of sheet metal with hand tools. This is really cool. So yeah, this goes through doing the CAD design. Tuco's sitting over here next to the heater now. And yeah, I like this design a lot. Kind of want to build one, but I've also got this one that I've got pretty much built here on the desk that I'm just trying to get working. I keep tuning it and adjusting it, and the change that I made earlier today off stream was to replace the plastic that I had up here with hot glue to try to couple less vibration between the legs, which was kind of more the original plan. And I can still basically just get it into a state where I can move in 2 directions successfully, but I can't quite move in all 3 directions really well. I did get a leveling cube, like we had talked about, because it is helpful for the surface to be pretty close to level. So I've got these little 3D printed print-in-place scissor lift things that I'm using to adjust the corners of the tablet, or like 3 locations under the tablet. And I still don't know how much this matters, but just to reduce the number of variables here, because there are so many variables, the surface of the tablet is not amazingly flat and curves a little bit near the edges. So just to eliminate that as much as I can, and I realized that I'm adding the variable of the coil being a little further, but I added a piece of glass in between the paper and the tablet to keep it flat. And so just trying that too. Anyway, I love this construction approach. The other thing that's really cool about this is that they're using a jig to just like keep everything in exactly the right spot as it's being constructed, which just seems really good. So like, I mean, it's just such a nice approach. I mean, I'm like, my main inclination is like, hey, this is pretty much what I was going for, but like you totally nailed it. You want to just like write a tutorial and like collaborate on this where you do the mechanical part and I do the code or something, unless you want to just do the code. But yeah, no, this is great, and like I think it would be great just to have more people try to build it in this particular way, because I think this is a really good approach. I also I want to just like continue with the one that's in front of me just to see what I can learn from that design, but I think this one is better in a lot of ways, and it's just really nice to see. So yeah, no, I'd love to see how this works with some closed loop feedback on it. And I think if I'm remembering right that they were saying in chat before that that they didn't have like a tablet handy that could just like run this code, but like it would be great to just like try it either with a tablet or with a camera, because I think it would be pretty easy probably to make a version of this that works with just the Raspberry Pi, 4 transistors, some resistors, and the Raspberry Pi camera. I keep ending up with the Raspberry Pi sitting above just out of convenience because it helps the wire management. And if you're going to have the Raspberry Pi above the table, like it's got a good view for the camera. And so then like you can do something with computer vision where you stick like a particularly colored or shaped dot on top of the pen and then just track that location. And that would be good enough to get the kind of feedback you need for this. So that would be great. That would be really nice. So I'm inspired by that, and I really appreciate the just like you making that and sharing it. So that's really cool. So now I feel like kind of an amateur going on with the approach I was taking with my wiggly toothbrushes, but I think they were also saying that like there are probably several different ways to do this, to explore. Like that particular design was all about flat pieces of metal creating kind of a single foot that would push, and then the two different approaches that I had been trying here, well, so the very first one I did, which had the most success so far out of everything I've tried, involved like flat pieces of plastic, but then a lot of that was also kind of like wiggling the nib of the pen along the page. But then the other modes I've been trying are just like single pieces of metal that kind of like are a pokey bit, but that's very unstable. And then this is like collections of pieces of plastic, which are a little more stable. That's a weird question. James is wondering why do you suspend the entire Pi and not just the middle of the wire? Oh, what you mean, like, why don't I just put the Raspberry Pi elsewhere? Well, that happens to be how it's done right now. But like the first version of this had a much shorter wire, so that just wasn't practical. And so I couldn't just like do that. But yeah, that's like, it's the equivalent, right? It doesn't really matter. When I was doing this with silicone wire, I was trying to do the whole build using just a single package of 2 meters of the silicone wire just to simplify the bill of materials, and so that was the only reason. But with the enamel wire, it just doesn't really matter because you are going to presumably have a lot more of it available. Oh, yeah, a couple of good mentioned. So Mike's Radio Repair has a shout out for if you want to see good jigs, then watch ClickSpring on YouTube. Yeah, ClickSpring is great. I'm a big fan too. Yeah, Vince also points out they're a fan. Yeah, ClickSpring videos. Actually, ClickSpring was specifically a big inspiration for me to like spend as much time as I do like editing the videos that I do, because I really appreciate how much effort ClickSpring puts into all their videos. And so yeah, I really like that series a lot. Well, I guess multiple series now, but his style. Adam is asking whether it would help to run the motors in reverse to gain directional control, or are the bristles too directional to allow reverse movement? The whole idea is that the bristles are where the directionality comes from, so the vibration itself is pretty random and erratic. So the direction that the motor moves in might affect it a little bit, but it isn't really going to be a good primary method of control, I think. So anyway, I think maybe the next thing to do is, well, I guess I promised I was going to show you the portfolio of stuff the previous bot produced really quickly. I feel like I need to show people this at the beginning of the stream just to prove, like, okay, I'm not just like making, like, I mean, it would be fine if I was just making balls of hair, but like, it's nice to show something that's a little closer to what I'm trying to get this thing to produce. Because like, I think this is so far the best output I've gotten so far, where it's basically giving me this version of some text that I gave it, but rendered using somewhat random motions, and then sort of different variations of that random motion. Some incomplete ones that were still interesting. So, you know, I like that one too. Anyway, so I made most of these using that first 3D printed robot, which I've shown on a couple of the previous streams. I think I already boxed it up. Balls of hair, yeah. Mike's already repair is laughing at that. Yeah, this has so far been the most successful version of this, honestly. Like, I keep building new versions of this, but so far the first one I've made has produced the best drawings. It's just unfortunately also the hardest to adjust and is just super temperamental in pretty much every way. That said, it's tempting to do another revision of this where it's still 3D printed into Flex. It's still basically the little like linear brushes like this, and I just use lighter wire, and I include a spot for the coil in the 3D printed design and make the pen mount looser or just more adjustable. Because otherwise this design had some upsides and it was very compact, and the 3D printing made some of the fiddlier parts easier to deal with. And so then, you know, I tried some things with wire like this, with weights. This one was very light, with the tube. One with toothbrushes pointing outward like that. The main problem with this one turned out to be there was way too much coupling between the brushes, so it just kind of all moved as a unit for the most part and was really difficult to tune. And this one has the same problem to some degree, but it isn't quite as bad, and I think it might be possible to get this one working. Anyway, I think I should probably take the time to actually make a program that lets me individually actuate the motors with the keyboard. That seems like a useful aside at the moment. Mike's Radio Repair says, have you considered just putting the brush heads on the original bot? You mean, like, how would that even work? That mechanically just doesn't make any sense. Like, the toothbrushes are way thicker than the 3D printed brushes, and the pen would just be way up in the air. You mean, like, I could just, like, hot glue the brushes to the side or something? I don't think that would stay together. I think that would just fall apart unless I actually had something melted into the brush, since, I mean, I haven't tested hot gluing stuff to the brush handles, but my tests so far with like thermoplastics attached to the brush handle directly haven't been strong enough. And the way I found that works for attaching stuff to the toothbrush heads has been with wires melted into them. Poke, poke, poke. Raspberry. Alright, little raspberry. So, yeah, so far I've just been trying to calibrate this using a hopelessly, like, commented out and hacked up version of the software that usually runs this. Let me see if I can reduce the exposure on my camera here. I'm a little overexposed thanks to the lights in my face. I have plenty of coffee though, which means it's okay if I'm overexposed. I can just be like glowing with caffeine. That's a little better. It is actually pretty dark here aside from the super bright light right on my face. I think that's a good compromise. Oh, did I actually drink all of that? Let me refill this before it gets too late to drink coffee. Listen to that heater. Watch the cat hang out next to it. Oh, I forgot to make this warm. Mike's radio repair suggests to wrap the wire around the toothbrush. I guess that might work, especially if you really tightened it with pliers. That would get in the way. I mean, that would, like, these brushes I'm using don't have that much space between the bristles, so you'd end up pushing the bristles and changing their angle, which might complicate things. Alright, so we could use various different input platforms, like we could make this totally command line based and use something like ncurses to get the keys. I'm already using Pygame to display the output on this current script. I mean, I think the easiest thing to do might just be to hack up, like make a copy of the current script and like remove most of the bits, but keep just like some basic Pygame stuff and like tablet and motor control. And then we could just show the tablet on the screen while also allowing you to drive it with the keyboard. And that might be a good just like low-level calibration kind of program. Make warm or put ice? I don't understand, I'm sorry. Adam says that if the bristle were straight, you could gain directional control by running two motors in opposing directions. I don't really follow how that would work. Oh, Alice is talking about the coffee. My choice is to make it warm or add ice. Oh, you're right, you're right. Oh gosh, I don't feel like iced coffee right now. It's cold in the shop. I hit Fuzz Boy. Alright, yeah, let's just use Pygame. I'm gonna call this like testdrive.py or something like that. Why can't I type? I can mouse. Or unplug and replug the keyboard. I guess that worked. Maybe my KVM confused it. Alright, so I got another Python file. I can simplify. I don't want any of the pill stuff or any sub-process stuff or most of this junk. So I'm like deleting all the like actual bot related stuff. I'm keeping motors. Do I want to keep tablet loop? This is the high-level tablet control stuff that tries to keep the sensor running at a high rate, and I think I do want to keep this. Alright, so that means I have tablet loop, tablet TX, tablet RX. I should probably include, like, move this to a library so I don't just have to copy paste all this stuff. I was hoping to keep it kind of self-contained in just one file, but that's silly if I'm actually going to be using this from multiple places. I could just import this from the bot Python file. Maybe I'll do that. Yeah, I'll plan to grab some of these classes from the other file and then just have my own Pygame loop. So then I won't be using a lot of this stuff directly. And I won't be using those directly. And I'll start with that. And then I'll just make a little main that starts with this display thing. And what am I actually going to call this? I guess I might as well. I mean, it's going to be the interactive parts too. Controller, that's a really overloaded word in this project and a few others, isn't it? Just call it test drive to match the app. Don't need any of that. Give it a window size. I think I should be getting the aspect ratio from the actual tablet, right? But I don't actually know that yet. So I'm just going to make it square. Alright, so we need to add a lot more stuff to there, but there's like some basics. Let's attach to some hardware up here. Actually, I want to look at the constructor for the motors in the tablet loop. I think they require a connection to the GPIO daemon. Yeah. Is this running with tabs? No. Okay, cool. Is that right? Oh. Tuco just knocked some pens off of a pile. He's just spreading out on this cardboard box. That's great. Give a cat a cardboard box next to a heater and I'll be happy. Alright, can I just... so the way the event loop normally works for the robot is it sits there mostly waiting on the tablet. So that's like self.tablet.read. And it won't return until it's processed the next actual packet from the tablet, which is usually what I want. So that's not really best practices for something that's on the same thread as the display. And on the real app, I have those running on separate processes and they talk to each other with a queue. But here, I'm going to try to get away with just polling for events in between tablet reads. So let me grab the Pygame API reference to remind myself how to do that. Oh, is somebody talking about actual size for the tablet? So this is a Huion H610. I've thought about having the code use like actual millimeter units and stuff, but right now it uses an arbitrary coordinate system that goes from 0 to 1 for the most part, and then it translates those to the size of the images that it's working with on the kind of image manipulation side, and translates from the tablet HID coordinate system on the input side. Yeah, lukewarm coffee. Oh, was somebody? It looks like somebody was saying in Twitch chat that that they were watching Hedgeberg, and then her mic got kind of messed up. And then was I hosting Hedgeberg, and then I interrupted that? I'm sorry. I'm still kind of a noob at actually running a Twitch channel sometimes. I've wondered if there's a better solution for how like a bunch of us all like to stream, and it'd be cool if we didn't have to like try to avoid each other's streams, but instead we could try to like co-stream when we're on at the same time or something. That would be kind of cool. Like it seems like it would be cool if there's like a platform level feature for that kind of thing. I just need to remind myself how the basic event loop here works. Which is usually quickest just to read a couple of examples. But no, they just... See, developers love writing documentation that just requires reading the whole thing to get the pieces you want, but that's usually not how I interact with documentation. Since like I already know how it works, I just need to remind myself of like what particular arbitrary decisions you made that have no method behind them and that I'll never memorize. Oh man, I'll just... Because I'm like I use Pygames so infrequently that I'm always like, well, yeah, I remember basically how it works, but I don't remember like what class owns what responsibilities, like where specifically you get events from, stuff like that. And just grab anything. Oh my gosh, this is so bad. Like it has a list of the examples without actually having a link to the code. Or are these just all already installed and they expect you to dig them out of the package egg or whatever they're installed in? Maybe it's not in an egg, maybe I can just browse to it. Or maybe the examples weren't installed. I don't know why it keeps resetting to the UK keyboard. I would expect this maybe if it crashed and didn't get a chance to save it, but I haven't even exited the X server. It just seems to be doing this spontaneously, like someone's playing a mean joke on me or something. Maybe there's some application I'm running that causes it to reset the layout. I don't know. Okay. Oh, sorry, do I need to unstick the chat? It has this bug where sometimes it doesn't follow the scroll. Is this at least going to have good hyperlinks to where I get the events from? Okay, event.poll. Cool, maybe this was the right badly formatted document I wanted. That sure is a wall of text with terrible margins and no highlighting. Backgame.no event. Pump. that just... Does this just handle all the internal events, but then just like perpetually buffer all the stuff that you would be handling? Like they're not really specific about that. It's funny. Like a lot of this stuff is like based on the semantics of how SDL works under the hood. So if you really want to understand this, you probably need to read the SDL source code. But this like gives you a vague sense of how it works under normal conditions. I think I just want to get and then iterate over those. And for the display, I think I just want to scale the tablet location and then draw it as like a dot or whatever's convenient. Is event list just a list of event types? Where do they define that? Is that a hyperlink? Of course it isn't. So you just use that without ever defining it? Cool. Maybe I'll just do a print and leave it at that for a sec. Let's also print. How does that work? There's like a get location that scales it. What did I call that? Oh, that's in the receiver. Scaled position. Yeah, let's see what that looks like. That won't move, it's just print out positions. Give me a window. Oh, that's not actually called GPIOD, it's just PyGPIO. Okay. Cool, so now we've got tablet position and SDL events. And that is just like an iterable something or other of event classes. So we've got mouse motion, we've got keyboard keys. So yeah, and close. So we probably want to handle close events, and keyboard is probably the easiest way to map this to motors for the moment. So unless Pygame already has some way of tracking whether keyboards are up or down, we'll just need like a key state map that we update and then map that to PWM outputs for the motors. This is great. So now we're using all the existing code that keeps the tablet synchronized and keeps those events out of the rest of the Windows system. That's nice and convenient. Yeah, I want to draw. Let's see if we can do that. I don't know whether I want just like a dot or like a continuous thing, like a continuous line, or like a crosshair kind of thing. Crosshair kind of thing is the most accurate way of just seeing the current location. But a line would be kind of nice, maybe. Anyway, this is all like setting up the display and getting an SDL surface, which I've already got that in set mode, just returns this thing I'm calling screen, which is an SDL surface. So I think I just want to draw rectangles on that. Fill, I think, was what I wanted. RGB sequence, our color index. Yeah, let's do... I don't really feel... yeah, we should have them something like this. What is the size? That's where I get size. Alright, so we're scaling it into the coordinate system of this arbitrary sized window that we have. And now I can use fill, I think, to just draw stuff. Oh, it would help if I could type. Let's have colors, like background. What kind of rectangles are these? I mean, there's like a couple of basic ways people always represent rectangles, but you always have to just like look up which one they're using. You're not going to tell me right there. They just call it a rect, which is not like a capitalized data type or anything. Here's a capitalized rect. This is probably the same. I'm gonna guess that they'll take a tuple of like, oh, well now they have these. This is top left, no, left top width height. This one is, oh, these are just different attributes. Yeah, so I'm guessing they want the constructor parameters for a rect, if not an actual rect. So left top width and height. I should just use that window size that I already have. That's the horizontal line. And the vertical line. Let's try that. We should be able to move that around with our pen. Or with our fingers, with our human parts, we should be able to influence this computer program. Yeah, just like that. So, and this is not, or no, it is aspect correct. That's right, because I used the major axis as the multiple for both. So the top left corner of the screen should be the most addressable top left point of this tablet, so up here. And then, because this tablet is wider than it is tall, we should be able to reach the whole horizontal space here. That looks right. And then we should stop short a little on the bottom edge. Or maybe a lot, yeah. Because this is a square window. But there we are. Cool. And now some keys to complete our test drive system. Alright, I'm getting more used to this documentation format. It's just a little bit visually cluttered compared to what I'm used to. It's just the thing where you have like all this text that's basically the same weight, maybe slightly different fonts. I guess all I'm seeing is like italics versus, I don't know, well, a couple of fonts, but like still. It's just like hard to parse. I kind of wish more of these had hyperlinks. Is this just a key value object? Oh geez, the document example search. I don't want to deal with that. Go away. Oh, okay, this is the oh, this is a factory function, and this is the type. So all these are going to have an identifier which will map to one of these integers. Okay. So I'm going to be doing like event.type equals, and then where do I get those constants? Show me the constants. Where are these? Yeah, okay. Are they just... Ooh. Are they... Wait, they're just like in the plain old Pygame namespace? Okay. I should just play with this in the REPL. Yeah, these are just... Okay, they're just in the Pygame namespace. So I think this is just like... You can just do stuff like that. You can just write straightforward if statements. So where's the keyboard event we want? We have key down and key up. Key and mod. Okay, and where are the key constants here? I think SDL key constants are a superset of ASCII, so if we're using alphabetical keys, then we can maybe just get by with characters, but I want to take a look for that. Anyway, I think the first thing is I just want to track the keys. So I'm just going to take the keys and keep track of, are they up or down? Is there like a set data type I could use for that? Because I could put booleans in a dictionary, but I could also just add and remove things from a set, which seems nicer. Yeah, there is a built-in set. So I can add, remove, yeah, cool. Make these else if, because they are mutually exclusive at least. Alright, so just handle events like that, and I'm actually going to move this to a separate function. Actually, not the tablet thing, because This actually sets the rate that the loop iterates at, because this blocks. I'm gonna just take this out as some like non-blocking stuff. And this doesn't even need the screen. This is just saving events. All right, and then we're drawing. Let's move the drawing to another function too. I'm so used to that key shortcut. What is it? Control open bracket, where you can decrease the indent level of some code. That's not too bad. Okay, so that's a little better. Let's have another function here which we haven't written yet, which will be update motors. And I'm just going to have a list of keys to map to the PWM channels. So this will be some list of key constants, which we'll define in a sec. And then I'm just going to have a fixed level right now. Let's use like 0.4 for the PWM level. So we're just going to select between that or 0, depending on whether the key's pressed. So this will just be like level times something like that, except this will need to be something else, like is, like I think I can just use the in operator. I think that works. So what I'm trying to do there is use the in operator to test whether k is in that set of keys that are down. I should actually make this more specific. Key is down, since it's now a set rather than a bunch of booleans. And now we're checking whether that's in the corresponding keys down entry. If it is, we'll get the corresponding level, otherwise we get 0. What? No, you're trying to be helpful, but that's not right, is it? It takes a list. Here's motors. Yeah, speed, list of speeds. No dice, Genie. Alright, this just needs a list of keys now. Where do those come from? Oh, Afro Ninja Deluxe is asking what version of Python. 3.5? 3. Something. 3.5.3. Yeah, I've been trying not to use Python 2 for any new projects. I just don't see any reason to anymore. And Python 3 has some nice features, and it's like getting more development attention these days. And like I'm sick of using ancient software just because people don't want to update their libraries, and it seems like we're finally out of that for the most part. Like even Raspbian, like it's pretty easy to just like apt-get stuff with Python 3 and have it work these days. Oh, is there not like a specific section here about keyboard events? Or am I just not missing or not seeing it? I think I'm just gonna have to poke through PyDoc and look at look for constants. Oh yeah, we have like K underscore everything or other. So we figured maybe just some letters would work. Like Z, A, and S or something, just because that's on the corner and it's, at least on my keyboard, it makes a triangle. Also, someone suggested a while ago to put LEDs on the motors, and I keep almost doing that because it does seem like it would be nice. I could probably get away with just snipping one of the magnet wires and just inserting a surface mount LED in series, and that could look pretty cool. But that also just seems like it could introduce other problems, and I've been avoiding it so far. One is talking about flicker and photo annotations. That's not a Guitar Hero thing, is it? It looks like a modified game controller or something. Is the chat stuck, by the way? Let me see if I can fix that. Sorry that keeps happening. I haven't gotten around to actually fixing it properly. Oh, dope. That's not right. Man, my attention is all over the place today. And of size. Oh, right. Oh, I see. It was a conversation about ribbon cables, but yeah, no, that looked familiar because I was like wondering, because I probably have some photos on Flickr also of hacked Guitar Hero controllers, and I was curious if that was related or if that was something else. Or mine was just like adding a wireless thing to a Guitar Hero controller. All right. It might even be cool for that to add like vectors, but right now it's just a position. Cool, that's first motor. Oh, that's the second motor. That's the third motor. So that's cool. We're not really getting anywhere right now. Why are we not getting anywhere? I was just fussing with the angle on these so much, and right now I guess it's not so good. Oh gosh, this is the part that's so hard. Anyway. Oh, it just crashed because it got a key up event for a key that it didn't get a key down event for. I'm going to have it ignore that exception. Or maybe I'll just put a guard around that first. something like that. It's moving so slowly. I mean, I could increase the PWM, but it should be moving more with this level. Alright, let's give it 0.6. Well, it's definitely moving now. That's maybe an easier starting point. Let me see if I can nudge this closer to having a good view of Tuco. Okay, and let's put a pen in there. Where's the heater? I'm going to try leaving the pen cap on, which I usually don't do, but it might help a little bit. I don't think it matters that much. Oh, it is nice to have a keyboard where I can just turn the motors on. When I'm feeling these, it does seem like there's a good bit of vibration isolation now. Like these two aren't moving hardly at all, and this one is quite vigorous. And that's getting close, it just needs some adjustment. But here, that one doesn't seem to be moving in the right direction at all. That's like almost controllable though. I've got 3 really bad motion vectors there. Like if I left it long enough with the algorithm that we've been working on, it might actually draw something, but it's pretty unreliable. Just gonna try spreading these a little more, which will change the contact angle and the width of the base. As this one. See, a steeper angle seems like it helps in some ways, but also fewer bristles actually make contact. And if it rattles like that, it's actually not good, because... Oh, see, that actually might be better if it was less unlevel. I'm gonna try bringing it closer a little bit. Looking at it from underneath is pretty helpful too, to get more of an adjustment sense. Yeah, I don't know what the optimum is, because there's a lot going on here, at least, especially when we're not just continuously reshaping the brush, because to get a really optimal sense of this design, you'd want to keep shaving the brush so that it makes perfect contact with the page, but we're not doing that. At least not yet. We might try that, but... Yeah, I had plastic, like hard plastic, on the center tube, which I put there mostly as a weight to keep it from bouncing around by being so light. But it was also just too hard, and it transmitted too much of the vibration. And so I took that off for the most part. There's a little bit left, but I took as much off as I could and replaced it with hot glue today. And I think that helped. I also added a little bit of hot glue along this wire to keep it pointed away from the bot as a strain relief, and that seems to be helping a lot. Oh, and I might have done this also off camera where I rotated the motors so that they're back like along the axis between the toothbrush and the center, which works a lot better. I just wanted to try the other orientation too, and it's definitely not as good. It's like not the direction I expected it to move. But it's easy to tune the brushes when they're moving, at least in some direction, usually. It's like when they're sitting there not moving that it's a little harder. Maybe I just need to try turning up the voltage. Oh, a little bit of balance helps. I had been assuming I want them angled in so that they pull from the center, but I could also try angling them out so that they push. Jason says, my intuition says the bristles should be long along the axis of motion rather than perpendicular. Long along the axis. Not sure what you mean by length here. The angle of the bristles, super important. The length generally just requires it to reach from the head of the bristle to the page. Like otherwise you're just kind of controlling how many bristles actually end up contacting the page versus how many are just floating in the air. That's interesting. By hand, I can actually get it to move pretty effectively by rocking between these two motors, but just a single one doesn't move very well. But it's unreliable. Like that's not really the locomotion method that I'm aiming for, but it's another one that exists. There's so many just interdependent things that have to be adjusted to get this bot working though, which is why this design seems pretty inferior to Alexa's contribution with the flat pieces of metal. I do think it's possible to adjust the spot to work. Might need to trim the bristles though. I keep having to explain the locomotion. It seems like it's moving in the wrong direction because it is moving in the wrong direction because it's not adjusted right. But the intention here is for it to move in that, like for each one of these brushes to push in the line you would draw from the nib of the pen through the center of the brush outward. And the locomotion comes from the angle of contact between the bristle and the page. But it's really easy to get the rotating motion if, for example, this whole thing is twisted relative to that axis. So that's what I'm trying to tweak. I've just been trying to get that dialed in. It's extremely fidgety. And I'm still not quite sure what setup I should be aiming for the best stability. And I'm coming around to also thinking that the paper clips are a bad idea just because there are too many vibration modes. I think that a flat vibrating structure might be the way to go. It might be possible to achieve that with pairs of paper clips, but the spring steel seems really nice, or just like something flat. Maybe I could build a bot out of tape measure. Yeah, I've got to just like look at how it's actually sitting on the page and then tune it, which then of course changes how they're all sitting on the page. Why am I getting so little thrust in the intended direction? One thing I've noticed with these little brush-based actuators is there's this very narrow region of downward force where the locomotion actually works. If there's too little force or too much, it just stops. Not quite sure what's wrong right now. Just gonna try like a wider base. The vibrations just aren't strong enough right now. I'm gonna turn the voltage up. It's only 3 volts right now. I'm gonna turn it up to 5. We've also only got the PWM at like 60%. And I keep getting them pushing in that direction. I wonder if the structure is just more stable and moving in that direction, and I should just try angling the bristles that way. Let's try just kind of pushing it that way. We can make the whole thing less big in a sec if this actually seems like it might work. The center of this tube is much nicer to hold now that it's like semi-firm hot glue and not this paper that seems like it's going to collapse when I touch it wrong. That sounded bad. Okay, less spinning. Which one was responsible for that? There is not very much vibration isolation. Oh, that's interesting. This one feels totally immobile. This is where the vibe is coming from. This is getting a lot of it, though. How is that happening? I think maybe when I assembled it, these two paper clips were just too close together, like I didn't space them quite evenly. Can I counteract that with a strategic cut? I think I might be able to. I think I can just cut into the paper clip right here and weaken it. Maybe I want to do this on all the sides. I was trying to take a little section out by cutting on the other side too. Okay. So now this one, as it wiggles, it's not going to transmit as much of that vibration to this next section, which is then right next to this. And just because that little extra bit of wiggliness, I think, helps a lot. And now that the hot glue is fully set, I don't actually need it to be that strong anymore. So I'm just going to make that same cut on each of these. I don't know if I'll be able to make both of those cuts, but at least one of them. I'm going to try not to fuck up the wires. Okay. Okay, cool. The control loop is still working, which means the tablet coil is still working. We have one direction. Two directions? Oh, much better isolation now. Oh, that helped so much. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm pressing just one of the motor keys now, and these two are staying still. This one is buzzing like crazy. That's great. Same with this one. Yeah, oh, that is so much better. Okay, cool. Now I can try to balance this again. The coil is actually pretty far away from the paper right now, but the sensing seems to still be working. I guess I did turn up the voltage too, which is also driving the coil transmitter. Oh, this is really warbly. I don't know about these brushes. What? Did not expect it to move in that direction? Whoa. What did I just do? Oh, I broke a paper clip right here. Metal fatigue. Dang, I'm gonna see if I can solder this back together. That is another problem with these. They don't actually tolerate that much bending. This little guy's got an ankle injury. Because yeah, this paper clip doesn't just go into the plastic, it also goes into the toothbrush head. So it's pretty structurally important. The solder isn't going to be great, but let's see if it's enough. Jason says definitely need a tiny MIG in this case. Yeah, totally a little welder, not the plane. Yeah, the plastic was all that was holding it, which does not stand up to the heat. I would like to add a little more solder while holding it in position. Let's see if I can make that happen. Nope, that was bad. I need to bend that a little more. The weight of the solder kept drifting it. I got some on there, but the solder is actually not wetting onto the paperclip extremely well. It's like, well, I mean, way better than I would expect it to. I usually would not expect to be able to solder to a paperclip at all. For some reason, these are a little bit tinned pretty well, but... Let me see if I can try this again with it sitting on the table. That fatigue is so metal, yeah. Let's see if I can put a little squidget of sludge. What do you call this stuff? I don't know. Oh, blue tack, that's what people call it. I guess I usually see it sold as like poster mounting stuff, but... And then I just want to make up some random set of syllables every time I try to describe it to someone. Because it's just like some random squudge that you put on your widget as you solder it. Okay, I think it's wetting to a little bit more area, and I got a little bit of an unsightly blob on there, but whatever. Alright, I'm going to adjust it carefully with pliers to try to avoid stressing that joint any more than I have to. This robot might already be a lost cause. The paper clips just seem to be a bad idea, but let's see. Can I move that? The hot glue on the leash, definitely a keeper. I'm keeping that idea. Well, that's the one that just broke. The one I was just actuating. It seems okay. Not moving, but... I know, I just broke my rule about grabbing it with the pliers. I really don't like this design nearly as much as that nice, elegant metal bot that Alexei designed. Oh! That was the solder breaking. Yeah, I saw that coming. Great. I'm just going to add a dab of flux and try to stick those back together. Alright, a little squidge of flux on the end of that. I actually want to kind of goop the flux onto the other side too while I have it here. Oh, at some point during that time I turned off the soldering iron. That would explain why it's cold. This will only take a sec to heat up. Yeah, right, the fatigue was at a pretty inconvenient spot. So I'm trying to overlap it a little bit and then solder the joint. I think I got it. I think I also melted some of the plastic around the joint, and I hope I didn't overheat the motor. Melting the plastic is not a bad thing. That might help it be stronger, potentially, slightly. Okay. Whoa, that's really floppy in there now. That's actually more floppy than the other ones. That one's close, but why is that one so much floppier? I think the hot glue is just not very adhered right here. It's probably fine though. Just might be hard to keep it lined up. Alright, cool. Now I'm just back to tweaking the leg angles and trying to get this to move in 3 separate directions. That's getting there. This program is definitely easier to use than watching it run automatically and trying to tune it. Oh, whoa, what's going on there? Okay, that's the solder breaking and now it's only held on by a little bit of plastic. This is annoying. This bot, this seems like it keeps teetering between being a lost cause and actually working. Yeah, I was thinking about it the same way. Jason suggests taking a soldering iron to the top and reflowing that hot glue. Yeah. I'm gonna try to hit this a little bit first. There's still a little bit of flux on there, I think. Yeah, the tiny MIG welder, right? That's what you want. It wouldn't be great, but I could try to mold some plastic around a bit more of that to hold the paperclip in place. It's getting kind of lost causey though. Oh yeah, I can feel that just a little bit of solder is holding that, and it's easy to fatigue. Oh, that's annoying. Why can't I control it? Oh right, because it's not on the tablet. This leg's working well. Zoom. Yeah, look at that go. That's cool. It'd be cool if I knew why it was working. Okay, that one is not broken, but is also not working super well. Let's adjust it. See, that one wants to pull in the opposite directions that it seems like the bristles should be making it go in. I wonder if that's just the shape of the toothbrush. Maybe it would be worth flattening them. We've got 2 directions. One of them is not what I would expect, but... Oh, that direction works too. It's not great, but we do have 3 directions there. So I can kind of go left and right and then that way. It's not really quite separate enough for me to get good coverage of the plane with. So that vector is coming from this motor just like pushing in completely the wrong way. So I'm gonna see if I can fix that. Why? It gets really hard to tell these legs apart. Like I keep getting them confused. But I think the other two are working all right. This one is working really well. This one is supposed to be moving at that direction and that direction, and it's kind of sometimes working, but not really. Whereas that one's nice. And this one keeps going in exactly the wrong direction that I expect it to. Well, we could have an adventure in leg trimming for these. Oh yeah, we were also going to try to heat stake the really floppy leg back into position. They're all a little wobbly, but yeah, that one is definitely floppier than the rest. Well, let's warm that iron up. LEDs needed, or dabs of paint. Yeah, we'll include lighting in the next version of this bot, maybe. Oh, this is the broken leg, and it's just, it's only plastic, and only a little bit of it holding that in place now. I should maybe just add some shape lock between like this bottom link and the motor, because otherwise that's going to fall apart really, really soon. So I'm warming up the soldering iron, clearing off my silicone pads so I can heat up some shape lock. Or dabs of paint would do. I don't quite get that. I'm missing the context. Oh, Brandon in YouTube chat is asking, what is that? It's a robot where I'm trying to get this sort of randomly vibrating robot to be controllable enough to draw in a closed loop fashion so that I can plot particular images with it. Kind of a robotics art experiment. Oh yeah, so this NeoPixel matrix is over here because I was also noticing that it's the same, well, close enough pitch to the pitch of the waffles on this grid here. And I was having fun making these little like hot glue, tasty, gritty things by just like squirting hot glue into there. And so I'm actually thinking that if it was done carefully, you could pour a bunch of hot glue in there and then press the LED matrix in and actually have a nice way of diffusing the light. Oh, I see, dabs of paint to distinguish them from each other. Yeah, well, some of the versions of this I had different color paper clips, which was kind of nice, but then I had to remember the mapping between the colors of the paper clips and the motors, which was another thing that was difficult for me. I definitely sprained my finger the other day on the magic arm because I feel like every time I activate the magic arm, it's just like hitting that same tender part of my hand. Some bad ergonomic technique I have there. This just needs a bunch more heat. The Dream Master says, why don't I make a PCB or aluminum disc so you can mount the brushes more reliably? Paper clips are really the least reliable way to build this. Well, my goal with the paper clips wasn't reliability. My goal was the ability to adjust them. I've made a bunch of versions of this at this point, and the first one I made was 3D printed, and all the brushes were the same. But it was difficult to change things around and to actually tune it at all. So I've been looking for something that's a good mixture of tunability and just like ease of construction. But like, yeah, I totally agree that the paper clips are way too squirrely, and I don't think I'll be building another version of this with the paper clips. I'm just trying to see if I can get the one that I have working before I give up on it. And as for like sheet metal or something, like earlier in the stream we were looking at a design that Alexei created between streams, like since the last one. And it's based on cutting out pieces of sheet metal and then using a jig to rivet them together just right. And that one seems great. Like, so far that's the best one I've seen. But yeah, like, I agree, the paper clips aren't out so great. I'm just trying to see what more mileage we can get out of this prototype while I have it. But something that's just like a machined hunk of aluminum, I'm skeptical of that because I don't know if it would be adjustable. But borrowing something else from Alexei's design, like they used, I think, these little folded metal tabs as the feet. So I think you could probably design something that's just like one machined aluminum piece or whatever, and then a bunch of single places where you could rotate the joint to adjust the feet. So like, there's certainly a space of designs like that out there, if you wanted to like machine something out of aluminum. But the other constraint that I was trying to follow here was, well, what's something that's easy to reproduce using a small list of materials that I could easily turn into a tutorial that people could follow. So I'd like to avoid like machining or like ordering precision parts or whatever. Stuff that you could easily make at home is nice. But like Alexei's design definitely hits that because all you need is like sheet metal and some scissors and wood, and so it seems nice. Alright, I'm not going to heat this all up. I've got enough of that heated. So I got a little piece broken off, which will be enough. Now I'm going to heat this up more. Not so hot that it burns me super much, but enough that it will adhere really well when I stick it on there. This is polymorph or shape lock or instamorph or PCL. It's a low temperature thermoplastic that's you can get from a lot of places, including Adafruit. Oh yeah, and that's a good question. Yeah, Jason's asking what's the difference between shape lock and hot glue. And yeah, Thomas says that apparently shape lock sets much harder than hot glue, which is, yeah, that's the reason I'm using it here mostly. This particular iteration of the design has hot glue around the middle and then shape lock around the kind of brushy parts. So I'm kind of just encapsulating most of that leg, like a little cast. I think I might want to make it go a little further. Just like a little bit. And heat up a little plastic to put on just that edge of the cast. This is also going to make this leg somewhat less springy and vibration isolating than the others, but you know, this prototype is full of problems. That'll just be one of the many. Alright, I'm going to stop messing with that so it can set hard. The Dream Master in YouTube chat also says, maybe you could also simplify things and use 3 single bristle legs instead of brushes. Maybe just thick fishing line mounted on an angled hole or some such. Yeah, I mean, we've been through some of that. The reason I wanted to try brushes on this prototype is that the previous prototypes using single legs have been really hard to adjust. So for example, I built one like this using paper clips that were just single points you could adjust, and it was just really annoying having so much of the motion relying on these very, very tiny surface details of this one thing. So my reasoning behind using commercially available brushes was that they would have consistent average properties over all of the bristles. This is one that had a weight in the center, and I tried different kinds of legs, including points and feet, and here's one with the brush is angled the other way, but the body was too rigid. Here's one that was 3D printed with the 3D printed brushes, and this one actually worked pretty well. So like, we've gone through a few different variations here. This is just the current robot. Oh yeah, and then someone else was commenting on this little cube. Yeah, we were looking at level cubes, because I have like a shop level, like, I don't know what you would call it, but like, you know, big metal ruler attached to a big metal thing with a level in it, and I would put that on here and it would be really heavy and change the leveling. So this one is designed to mount in a camera hot shoe, and it seems better. I also got some of these little ones that are also designed for a hot shoe, and they also seem okay. They seem a little bit harder to use for this surface because it's harder to get them to sit predictably flat on here. But like, neither of these are quite like, you know, machinists, like accurate cubes or something. They don't seem like quite that accurate, but it's better than the one I was using for sure. What is that about? I hate bubble levels. Like, the hysteresis on this is all sorts of messed up. And like, is that even... I mean, I'm trying to compare the results of like using different levels by rotating this, and they are a little different. But I think that's... Yeah, what's going on there? This is not reliable. What does that one say? I mean, you can use these to get it roughly level, but I'm having trouble getting any precision out of this right now. Because it just seems to change depending on exactly how this is sitting on the surface. I don't think this is a perfect cube. Okay, well, that'll be enough for now. Yeah, Jason has a good question. They're wondering if more mass on the leg would help. Probably not, mostly just damping vibration. That was kind of my thought too, although I was a little curious about that. Oh, Oh, that's interesting. The Dream Master on YouTube says there's an open source Wigglebot I've seen before that's steerable and holonomic. They used 3 rigid legs, as far as I recall. If you can remember how to find that, that would be great, because I have not seen a lot of that, but I would love to hear more about it. Alright, I think that plastic is pretty rigid now. Let's see if we can steer this again. Which one is that? That's this one. Alright, I was also warming up this other soldering iron to try to reflow the glue around these top joints to make them less floppy. I think I want to go in from the top, right in the middle. Oh geez, not burn all the way through, but leave some glue. And hold that for a sec. Rotate and then repeat. I don't know how much that'll help. This is definitely going to kind of plastic weld the hot glue and the coating on the paperclip together right there. Yeah, this is pretty gross. Definitely do this with a lot of ventilation. Heating up the paper clips so it would reflow. I mean, that won't... I don't think I could realistically heat up the paper clips enough to reflow the hot glue. At least not very well. At least not like in a large area. I think going in one location is the right strategy here. And I mean, to be clear, this isn't going to be very good. It's just going to be better than nothing, and I hope it'll help enough to make this prototype give me a little more information. Oh! Electron Ash on YouTube has a link, and apparently it's on SpritesMod's site. That's cool. It seems like a cool project that I'm not surprised they worked on. Let's try to find that while I let the glue cool for a sec. Oh no, did the keyboard layout revert again? Maybe it didn't. That's not the camera I wanted. Let's go here. Yeah. So talking about Wigglebot and Evil Mad Science. Okay, cool. Just trying to improve on it by making it only go straight forward. Shaving the brush. Oh, is it a line follower? So let me see if I can make this a little bigger. This is really little. So yeah. Oh, card photo. Oh, that's cool. The V shape is nice. That seems relatively stable. Got a little micro. Wait, what sensor is this? Oh, right. Is this an optical mouse sensor? Somebody was suggesting one of those in chat before. Oh, ADNS 5020. Right. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, that's interesting. This is a neat story. So he's using an optical mouse sensor to try to compensate, and then the motion is kind of complicated, and it's interesting. So now it's trying to stay inside the area by detecting crossing the line. That's cool. So I guess this is as far as Sprite got with this project. That's really neat, though. It's nice to have some more Bristlebot documentation out there to refer to. Cool. Alright, let's go back to the real world here. Oh, okay. We got another link. The Dream Master said that they found it. It's called the Aerobot, and it uses 3 legs. I cannot type on this keyboard sometimes. Aerobot. Oh man, the Raspberry Pi 3 is powerful enough for pretty much everything except loading YouTube. Oh, Tuco's still over there. He's sitting right next to the heater. What a good cat. This one, maybe? Yeah, AE robot from Harvard. Must be this one. That's cute. Is this the same group that made those like little tiny coin cell three-legged robots? Like the swarm that they built like 1,000 of? Wait, did they go over locomotion yet? I don't know if this is the right one. June 2014. Yeah. Whoops. Oh yeah, this is what I was thinking of, and that is the same lab. Oh wait, were these also vibrating robots? I forget how these little guys got around. Yeah, they were. Yeah, kilobots. Yeah, I've forgotten how they're... Oh, why am I on someone else's site about this? Let's go back to Harvard's YouTube. This is just getting slow enough that like I'm clicking on stuff that isn't actually on the screen anymore. Yeah, these things are great. So they just use three little pokey legs. And they just move in two different directions? Is that what they're doing? Huh. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've been trying to go for this strategy where we can move in three directions instead of just like steer and go forward. But that's certainly another way that we could approach this. Like make estimates for what the current forward direction is, either like directly using a rotation sensing tablet or by using the motion vector. Yeah, come on. Scroll and click. Oh man, this is so slow. Oh. No. I wanted to scoot forward, not switch videos, but I guess the UI is too slow for me to actually navigate like that. Are these little wigglers? I don't see any pictures of the underside. I want to see your little wiggler bits. I think I'm done with this fan. Little wiggler. Are you a phototropic little wiggler? You're a Blockly little wiggler. That isn't Blockly. I don't see any pictures of their actual locomotion. Whatever. Let's move on. his leg's going the wrong direction. I should probably try trimming the bristles next. I'm just going to try to visually get these kind of even and then just start trying to figure out how to trim these. Yeah, using a cutoff wheel might be nice. Also, how bad is it trying to trim these with scissors? Or like, somebody suggested like a beard trimmer kind of thing. Let's just try some manual experimentation here. Oh, did someone find the source code for the robot foot? Let me see if I can open that on the machine that's actually on chat already. That's cute. Huh. Maybe a saw blade, yeah. That's about what I got so far. This is going to be like trying to trim a bush or something. I'm already feeling little bits of bristle in my nose. Let's see how well that, or what that did to that. Which one is this anyway? I have to like feel it as I poke the motors. Have to go back to the Raspberry. Whoa! Huh. I think these little corner bristles are still causing problems. That's getting better. Man, that could just pull any direction it wants. Not quite sure why sometimes it wants to go in and sometimes it wants to go out. I think we do want them kind of pointed the other direction. So I'm going to rotate this one 180. that. I think we want something kind of like that. Let's see what that does. Woo! Woo! That might be it. Woo! Look at that go! Can we replicate that on multiple legs? So... Oh, I just kind of pressured the cast in a bad way. That was bad. So I'm gonna try to get this even again and go in with the scissors and give this a haircut. Oh man, this is not really gonna hold any particular angle, but as long as it moves and as long as the directions stay pretty separate from each other, the software doesn't care what angle we actually end up moving in, so like, to some extent that just ends up changing what sorts of strokes it makes. Oh, this just came completely out. Scissors are actually not too bad at this. You can just kind of take off a few bristles in each stroke, but try to keep the scissors in the same plane and let that plane define where you want the bristles to be. This is covered in toothbrush parts now. It's gonna be like glitter. Alright, how bad is this now? Whoa. That's this motor. It's not what I want at all, really. It's really leaning to one side, though. I think that's part of the problem. This one was way farther down than the rest of them. Yeah, this will have to be the last one I build it of paper clips. The paper clips are just a pain. I might go back to 3D printing for the next one. I'm less worried about adjustability now that I've just tinkered with these more and I've got more of a feel for what's important about the design. That one goes the right direction when I put some weight on it. Maybe we do just need more weight on the legs. Somebody suggested that, and we were thinking it would just damp the vibration, but it also needs that traction to like keep the legs on the ground. So the weight could be out here where it won't vibrate as much. The weight could also, I'm just gonna take some of this like rubber eraser and squish it up here around the knee area to give it some weight. I was about to put the rest of this rubber eraser in my coffee, which would not have solved the temperature problem it has. What? I think that's helping. It's kind of chattering against the surface rather than really getting traction. I think it just needs a little more heaviness. Maybe I'll get some coins. Maybe this is what I need instead of the weight in the middle, is just weight on some part that applies the pressure above the leg but is not vibrationally coupled to it. So it's like maybe what I want is the leg, something that allows the vibration to, you know, to kind of, that like decouples it a little bit, so something that can move at the frequencies we're working with. And then a weight that just pushes down directly above that, maybe. I'm gonna grab some coins. Money. Your Patreon dollars at work. Put some quarters in here, maybe. This is maybe not the heaviest thing I have that's this size, but let's just start. Okay, well, that's something. Oh yeah, that's moving in the right direction. Whoa, and that is? That one's having trouble. I think that one's just dragging on the ground because it's not really supporting its weight anymore. I'm gonna gonna try straightening out that paper clip with pliers a little bit on both sides, just lengthen the leg a little, which sounds pretty barbaric now that I actually vocalize it. Here's another pair of pliers. This is the one with the cast on it too. It's just having all sorts of problems. Let's try, which one is that? Yeah, it's not supporting its own weight right now. I think I can solve that by, again, molding some plastic around the top here. I think actually just a little ring. So let me see if I can illustrate this. So this side was slipping upward just like that, which was causing the problem. So I'm going to just add some plastic on top of that joint to keep it in place. So again with the heat gun and the shape lock. Yeah, interesting. Kind of the opposite of a vehicle suspension. Jason said a heavy weight on the suspended wheels. Kinda, except I don't want the actual feet to be too heavy because they want to vibrate around a bunch. I just want a weight on top of them that presses down. I guess that's my thought. Oh, nice doggo. I'm going to heat up a little bit of this and then just pull off 3 little balls of it to stick above the joints. Yeah, so the paper clips are not so good. 3D printing seems fine, although maybe not perfect because I don't know how I'm going to get the springiness I want out of 3D prints. Ninja Flex seems fine, but I don't know. I'll have to experiment with NinjaFlex, but yeah, that sheet metal design that Alexei posted is really good. High-tech cat hair, dead skin, plastic composite. Alright, I guess it's easiest to just put this on all in one kind of plastic donut. Trying to keep that from getting too in the way of the little paper tube there. Alright, and that's not, I mean, that's also going to transmit some vibration, but hopefully by being so small, like it's not actually going to get very much of it. We'll see. So the paper clips can still move in a lot of axes. Like, I suspect it's not going to hold it very well in that axis. I don't know. Let's see, I'm just pushing this down a little more before that cools. And I'm trying to keep the paper from being squished by kind of pulling that apart. Jason is saying that we should really run 2 motors at once. We've been trying that a lot. Like, have you missed that part? I mean, it's fine if you have, but yeah, no, we've been going back and forth between a lot of different vibration modes and trying like multiple motors and single motors, and like that's been on the table, but like I don't think it's quite as clear cut as you're making it seem. I've certainly used that as a strategy for really high friction designs, like where I was using little rubber feet on each of the little wire feet that I had, and then it was necessary to run 2 motors at once, and I tried that and been there. But for most of these, that's not really necessary. It's just an additional mode that you can run it in. And we've been enabling that. I just have it off right now for simplicity because it doesn't actually help with debugging the basics. This is still not quite solidified enough for me to put it down. Good question. Kevin asks on YouTube, does it need to have a small top view profile? It seems like the same could be accomplished with a sort of ice cream sticks at a 30-degree angle from the bottom with the toothbrush at the end of them, then leverage. Yeah, so actually it does need to have kind of a small profile because otherwise the drawing area becomes really small compared to your tablet. But otherwise, yeah, I agree that would be a good idea. And that same strategy seems like it could work as long as they maybe attached at a lower point and were just like less long. Okay, I think this is finally starting to phase change. It's still a little bit soft. Anyway, I just need to let this solidify, then adjust this one last leg, the one that's broken at the end, see if I can get that one working. And then I think I might actually have this working and we could get a drawing out of it, but don't want to like assume that anything's going to work right at this point. Tuco is still sitting right next to the heater. Let's see if I can get the camera nudged up. Jason says that the coins and putty are making it look pretty badass. Yeah, kind of. The weight at the knees does seem to be helping. I'll have to figure out how to incorporate that into a 3D printed design. I mean, I still really like Alexi's design, as I've been saying, and I should probably just try to make one of those on an upcoming stream. Okay, I think I can adjust this one. So kind of like that. I think that this putty stuff is eraser. I'm pretty sure that's the stuff that I grabbed. Okay, that's not amazingly well balanced, but I do need to rotate that some. Alright, what do I got? Is it just too heavy to move? No. I could use lighter coins. Let's try just taking out the coins and not changing anything else, I hope. Oh man, nickels are so big. Do I have any more nickels? I found a nickel. That was what I was going to try next. Oh, that one's gross. Do I have any? I do. I have slightly less gross nickels. That one's like rusty and covered in dirt. I think that's also just angled wrong. Let's fix that. That helped when I added slightly more pressure. So maybe the quarter was fine, I just didn't have the brush angle right. More weight. I don't know about that. I think some of this might just be the bristles being at completely the wrong angle. Like, I kind of trimmed it a little inconsistently, and I'm trying to line it up with how I trimmed it, but it's also not perfect. And maybe that's all just too heavy again. Take out all these coins. Just the putty. You know, I'm also noticing that there's just so much that affects, or the legs affect each other. I think this leg is actually at a pretty bad angle, which is causing the other legs to drag. Hmm. That leg's good. There's always one leg that wants to push it in the wrong direction or something. That one had a bunch of lint in it. I wonder if that was part of the problem. It also just has kind of a weak knee. Man, I'm gonna go back to working on Tuco Flyer and I'm gonna be like, all of this robotics is so reliable. The motors go in one direction and don't have to like guess quite so much. See, now I have two directions working again. Kind of. Is there anything else we can do with this design? I'm running out of ideas for improving this design. I think the tunability of the paperclip is deceptive. Like, you can tune it, kind of, but it's just so bad at staying in any position that it's really futile. It's just, it's almost working well enough that I could just let the software go at it and see if it'll draw something. Not quite, but, ooh, that didn't sound good. Close. Oh, that is close. Yeah, I mean, like, it's funny, like, I'm trying to navigate this to get to the center right now, and there's not a lot I can do. Like, I can try to use that one for a while, that's helping, but then it stops after a while. And it's like, well, I can go other places, but then that changes my orientation slightly, but it also gets me way further from where I'm trying to go. So it's not quite actually going to work if I plug it into the algorithm. Do I need a little more weight? This one with the cast on it just has so little paper clip left that there just isn't a lot of vibration isolation between it and the rest of the system, so I don't think it actually vibrates very efficiently right now. I'm just going to try attaching the coin directly to the foot on this side to see how that would work. There's a lot less vibration, but it does seem to work to weight down the foot. Let's just try doing that to all the feet. Jason is saying this is the worst survival research lab show. That's funny. Yeah, I don't know what the next steps are for this project. It's definitely turning out to be more complicated than I was expecting. Just to get this to perform quite well enough. It's just so close, but it just keeps being so close, so I think there's just some breakthrough that I have yet to actually find that will help out. But it's also possible that we just need to make like one more 3D printed rev of this, then it'll work well enough. But I'm also curious if like Alexei wants to collaborate and we could just like use their mechanical design and then like do some software together, or just like maybe my work here is done, I don't know. Like I could just go back to other stuff. I was hoping to turn this into an actual like article that I could produce. And it would be frustrating to have to abandon the project before actually producing something from it, but you know, that's the way it goes sometimes. Okay, that kind of looks by eye like it might work. No. What's this motor? It seems to want more weight or more pressure. Definitely not good for keeping the vibrations though, adding more weight here. This is the worst place to add more weight. I'm just switching to bigger coins. I could increase the PWM, but I don't know if that's going to help. It's already vibrating quite a lot. This is not very good. I don't think they can do anything with that much weight. I could try just making the center of the robot heavier, which is maybe the best way to add more weight that is still decoupled from everything else as best as possible. Let's just try that again without the weights. Huh. It's hard to tell. There's probably a bunch of other problems here too. That's interesting. You can actually walk a little bit by pulsing the motors because the vibration causes the leg to splay out a little bit and then it relaxes. I think that's what's going on. So if I pulse the motors, I can get it to walk. Oh yeah, Ryan's also plugging Winter Gatan, who makes music machines. Yeah, I'm a big fan of them. They do great stuff. There's some walking. There's a lot more not walking. That's this motor. You can hear it spinning faster without as much chattering. So part of that is balance. Like that is actually lower, so it doesn't sit straight. That's some motion. Okay. Maybe this is just the most sensitive to balance ever. Oh, so close. It might be this brush having a problem with trimming. Looks a little better. There's that little section at the very end of the brush that's a little more sticky out. I think that especially causes problems unless I correct that while I'm trimming it. I actually have to feel the brushes to see which one is vibrating. It's very obvious by that because the vibration decoupling is alright right now, but LEDs would be nice. That's just acting again like the leg doesn't have nearly enough weight on it. So is there something temporary and heavy I can put on the top of this? That's too heavy. Also too heavy. I mean, I have this great holder for pens, but it's also kind of decoupled from everything else. Stick more plastic on there. That's just fine. Yeah. Well, I'm running out of ideas for stuff to do to this. It is moving better. I just can't get it tuned such that I can actually move in 3 distinct directions reliably. I think a lot of it has to do with balancing, and the weighting of this is just really hard to control reliably. It could just be that I've got to spend like 5 hours tweaking the angles of these paper clips, and then it might work a little bit. This part just seems like the most error prone. Like, this is why I don't like using the brushes. Like, anytime you have to change the angle of the bristles, I feel like that's just going to turn into a source of so much tedium and error. I feel like another one of these legs is going to break any minute. Oh man, this leg is really annoying. That's not the direction I want you to move at all. Like maybe the goal here is instead of keeping it like extremely flat, maybe there's some other pattern that would keep it stable, like a V pattern or something. That's an improvement. Maybe we are getting somewhere. Oh, Ian is suggesting trying a speed ramp since they might move better at different speeds. Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, that's not actually that hard to do in the bot because the bot already does do a lot of speed ramping. I could add that to this test pretty easily. We almost got something there, actually. No. I wonder how much of this is just like single or like very small numbers of bristles that are pointing kind of the wrong way. I mean, not pointing, but just like sticking up and then making contact with the page in a way inconsistent with the rest of them. That is not at all the direction I wanted it to move in. Not quite sure why. Yeah, I wonder if this is a leveling problem, because it does seem to be trending that direction. What if I rotate the bot 180 degrees? Can I replicate any of that? That time it just wants to pull toward the leash. If I hold the leash in the exact center, does it want to pull in the center? No. It just wants to go in a direction. Yeah, the Dream Machine says it looks controllable to some degree. Yeah, I agree. It's just, I don't think it's quite to the point where it would actually work. I think this is close to a lot of the not quite working, really frustrating behavior I've been trying to deal with so far. Tim B is wondering if having the brushes pointed toward the pen like the earlier designs. That's what I'm doing right now. The brushes are pointed toward the pen, and the intention is that as they move up and down, they kind of end up pulling outward like that. I think that's how this is supposed to work. Or do you mean like pushing toward the pen, so like angling the brushes out? Because I can kind of adjust that by like rotating the foot 180 degrees. Every time I do that, the paper clip is likely to break. I get the keyboard in the frame so you can see what I'm pushing. What about just some counterweights on long sticks or something? Getting a little desperate. Like I could do popsicle sticks that are hot glued to like these 2 points, like a point on the body and a point on the leg, and then have a weight at the end there. Yeah, let me just change this test really quick so that it always ramps the PWM up. Maybe that would be the right way to do it. Yeah, I don't know if I want to bother with that right now. That's going to be annoying, and I think I feel like I think I'm a little bit low on energy for fussing with this on this stream, but I think I will do a couple more tests on this, and then get a bite to eat, and then come back with another, potentially short, but who knows, another stream about that projector I found outside yesterday. Yeah, let's warm up the hot glue gun and get some popsicle sticks. It's a good start to the evening, right? Yeah, I think that's a good idea too. Ian has a couple of good ideas. Besides the PWM ramping, they're also suggesting checking out the pen ratcheting behavior that we were looking at a couple of iterations ago. Sorry, I know I just disappeared under the desk while speaking. I was trying to say checking out the pen ratcheting behavior that we were exploring a couple of iterations ago. Oh, at least Tuco's hanging out. I guess we do have a little bit of time while the hot glue gun heats up, but I also kind of need to use the restroom, so I'll be right back. Is it glue yet? Nope. It is. It's on. I think it just needs more time. Here's some sticks. Oh, Tim B says radiating from the pen like a star symbol instead of a delta. Oh, you mean like, like this one. Yeah, this one was pretty good at scooting across the table, especially when I had brushes that were already aligned. And the reason this particular prototype wasn't so good was there was just way too much vibration coupling by using the same paperclip armature for all of these. But the other thing I didn't like about this is it's just so big that you end up kind of sacrificing a lot of your tablet area using this design. You could get around that if you used a larger piece of glass. I happen to have a piece of glass here that's about the same size as the tablet, but if you had a big piece of glass, that would be great. So yeah, that's maybe something to think about, but that means that the piece of glass is definitely required, whereas right now it's just something I'm experimenting with. We have some glue. Cool. This is not the hottest glue gun, but it's a glue. So I just think I want to stick to 3 popsicle sticks, kind of like this, with rotational symmetry. I'm going to put some glue on one end, without losing the entire hot glue gun, and try to just stick that where I want it. And then I'll go back with more glue and reinforce it. Something like that. It looks kind of even. Ian wonders if I could reuse a fidget spinner for the body. I think most of those are too heavy, but maybe. I do have a fidget spinner. I think it's made out of metal coated plastic, but then it has weights in the arms. Yeah, maybe. They wouldn't give me the vibration isolation at all. I need something else for that. So maybe something that sticks in the fidget spinner and then has like a spring and then a vibration motor and then a foot. This is fun playing with glue and popsicle sticks though. I really should do this more often. Yeah, that's a good question. If you took the finger pads off of a fidget spinner, can a pen fit through the central bearing? I think the answer is no, but I'm going to check after I'm done holding this. The pens I have are 10 millimeters in diameter at the widest, and I think that fidget spinners usually use bearings that are for an 8 millimeter shaft, but let's find out. This thing does look very fidgety, even if it does not spin. I'm not going to be shy about adding glue. I already added a bunch of glue to the center here specifically as a weight, because that was an easy way of adding weight to the whole thing. I'm just going to kind of continue that trend on the popsicle sticks. I like this hot glue gun too, it gets nice and hot. It's like a 100-watt hot glue gun. Whoops. Now it's covered in spider webs and tiny pieces of toothbrush. The angles are interesting. I want to let this cool a little bit before I add weights on the ends, but that's the next step, I think. I could even tape the weights to the ends. They don't need to be hot glued on, really. So the idea here is just to get something kind of out there so that I can put like a coin or something on this stick and then adjust its position and what kind of weight I use to control that. Let's see what it does right now. That's this leg. That leg already works. That leg needs adjustment, but kind of works. This one needs a little weight. Okay, cool. Well, Tuco is under the desk. Hey, Tuke, can I hold you? Whoa, cat. Oh, usually you don't get this view, but you can actually see my other microscope in the background now, the Amscope. I haven't been using that one on stream because I don't have a trinocular mount or a camera for it, so it's not really good to share, but if I'm working on detailed stuff that I don't need to share, then it's really nice. Ow, that's still hot. Oh no. Gimbal, gimbal, gimbal. Maybe the noise just disturbed him and he moved away. Who knows? Okay, is this cool enough? I think so. Okay. Coin and tape. I'm just going to start out by taping 1/4 to each of these. Didn't quite make that piece of tape long enough. Yeah, I'd like to try like a really miniature version of Alexei's design. Something that can fit just like nicely around the pen. Actually, I'm curious how they came up with the size, if it was just like an initial guess or if it's like the minimum size for some reason. Because it would be interesting to see just like how small you could get the diameter so that it can still fit on a tablet effectively. What's this one? Okay, so I'm actually seeing it this time producing some locomotion this way, but not quite enough to counteract the friction over there. That one works. That one also just kind of bounces. What about pairs of motors? Those two kind of chatter and rotate. Those two work pretty well. What was that? That was this one and that one. That's mostly this one. I think it's working better if that very leading edge of the brush is making contact. And then the whole thing actually kind of scoots. If I paper clipped the weights to the popsicle sticks, I could raise and lower them. I don't think that would work. Maybe you're not serious. Maybe you're just trolling me because you want to see me use more paper clips. This is the one on the S key. Let's trim it. This is, again, at the point where two directions are working really well and the third is annoyingly not quite. These two maybe want more weight. I don't think that helps. This is actually actuating the wrong one. Maybe that does help. Maybe there's some reason this is only ever going to work in two directions at a time. Just trying pairs. Whoa. Fast and twirly. If I wasn't trying to make it go in any particular direction, that would be kind of nice. Oh yeah, I love these little waffly things. I wonder how well it incorporates these toothbrush bits. If you squeeze hot glue into one of these silicone waffle molds, it just leaves the most delicious shapes behind. These cute little cubes. They're just like delicious little pieces of gum. You can even you can even use them as pixels if you want. All right. Well. I'm about out of patience for this at the moment. I think I might try to take a quick break and get a bite to eat, and oh man, it's already late here. Man, I want to stream about that projector I found on the sidewalk. No guarantees I'll do that tonight, but I'd like to do that tonight, and if not, maybe I'll do that first thing tomorrow. But I think I'm about done with patience for this particular design. I think maybe the next thing to do here is to go back to the first revision with 3D printing, or to try Alexei's design. I'd like to see if maybe they want to collaborate on this, or like what they're feeling about that, or if I could just like try doing a build, because we haven't talked about that. But I think it's really cool so far, and I definitely think that the paper clips are bad and squirrely, and I shouldn't be using them anymore. Okay, so maybe it's a good to list like pros and cons of this design. The whole paper tube section is great. I like pretty much everything about it. It's relatively easy to make, it's easy to wind the coil's in just the right spot, it holds the pen pretty securely with the little spiral in the middle. All of that is great. It's easy to make. The paper clips suck. Everything about them. They're just brittle, they don't isolate the vibration that well. They're kind of easy to adjust, but not really. They're just not good. So I don't like that. The vibe motors themselves are still good. They're still a great choice. I'll try to keep recycling this one this wiring harness setup as long as I can. The actual brushes are a really mixed bag. They work, sort of, but they're just really hard to adjust the angle of, which turns out to, I think, always be necessary. What else? The attachment between the brushes and the center has just been a constant headache. In terms of just adjustability plus vibration damping and everything else. And I don't know about the weighting. I think it probably does need some ability to weight it and adjust the weighting, but I don't quite know how that needs to come into play. So that's kind of my summary so far. But yeah, now if anybody else wants to try this, I highly encourage other folks to give it a shot. And if you want to try to reproduce my same closed loop feedback setup, all you need is a Raspberry Pi 3 or a Raspberry Pi 2, one of these tablets made by Huion, and this particular one you can get for $50 new, or probably cheaper if you can find one used or broken. You only need the tablet itself, you don't need the pen. But if you have the pen, you can use it like as a regular tablet. And then, yeah, that's basically it. It's just like some transistors and a Raspberry Pi, so... Anyway, hope that was interesting. I'm going to try to figure out what to do next on this project. I wanted to get it to a point where I could make it into like a nice, easy to-do or like kind of learning article thing. It might still get to that point, but it's not as straightforward as I was hoping, so I might put this project on the back burner for a bit and gather ideas while I work on other stuff. But this has been a really interesting experimentation, and I hope some other folks have found it interesting. And it does sound like I might have inspired some other folks to play with some similar devices, so I highly encourage that. If you have similar experiments, I'd like to see them, and I encourage you to use any of my code or designs that you find useful. And so, yeah, let's make weird little wiggler robots. So, yeah. Just looking at chat again, Tim B 1986 asks, does it have enough weight on the pen tube now with the polymorph? Well, the pen itself, that's a good question. I haven't actually checked whether the pen is like under enough downward force to actually write reliably. It seems like it probably is, but if that is a problem, then we could put a separate weight on top of the pen cap. But I just haven't really even got to the point of looking at that yet. These weights are weighting down kind of the exterior section of the robot, and my goal here was to add weight such that you would end up putting the pressure on the foot, but I didn't want to put the weight directly on the foot because I wanted this to have more room to vibrate around by itself. So that's why I tried attaching it here, which is basically just mechanically going to be the same as attaching it to the central tube. It just gives me the ability to like physically get things further out so that they're easy to manipulate. That was all. But yeah, that's about all I got for the moment. So thanks for stopping by, and special thanks to all the folks who help out with the channel by sending in ideas or hardware or chipping in a couple bucks a month on Patreon to help me pay the shop rent and buy cat food and everything. It's all super great, and I will continue to do my part by providing content and inspiration and some community insofar as I can. Alright, well that's it for today. Well, maybe not for today. I may or may not stream again a little bit later, but that's it for the moment. So anyway, happy hacking, folks. See you later.